Happy New Year! It's getting busy around here with new things I'm building for this channel, new subscribers, and new content I'm trying out. But I'm really excited to get back to what started it all, which is my Wednesday comics. Duke #1 came out this week. I was really excited to pick this one up. This ties into the Energon universe, which is connected to the Transformers book that I reviewed in a previous episode by Daniel Warren Johnson. It's really cool to see what Skybound Entertainment and Hasbro are doing to rebuild these worlds and keep them, or interconnect them. I also saw that G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero by Larry Hama, this is number 302, came out. I'm not going to review this one this week because I think the run actually started with 301, which I'm missing, so I want to find that issue first before I talk about it. But it looks really cool, so I just wanted to bring it up here just to make people aware. Marvel Zombies Black, White, and Blood, number 4. I'm not a big fan of the zombie books that Marvel's been doing. Sorry, I got a cough drop. But I picked this one up because a couple artists caught my eye that I really like, and I always like the work they do. Steve Skroce is the first one, and a newcomer, Danny Earls. So I'll talk about those guys in the flip-throughs. And finally, I'm really excited to share this book with you. It's called Paklis, issue number 0 by Dustin Weaver. I found out about Paklis when issue 6 came out several months ago, and I had no idea what it was about. I really enjoyed it, collected all the back issues, picked up issue 7, and now issue 0 just came out. I'm interested in what Dustin Weaver's doing as far as telling his own independent creator-owned stories. So I'm super excited to flip through this one and show you some of the others as well. So let's get going. Okay, first up is Duke, issue number 1, produced by Skybound and Hasbro, written by Joshua Williamson, who has written a lot of books for DC. Tom Reilly is the artist, and Jordie Bellaire is the colorist, who I love her work. Tom Reilly, the artist, I find him in the same category, similar category as Chris Samnee or Tonchi Zonic. It's a classic, somewhat simplified style with very, very strong storytelling. More clean style, I should say. But you'll see as we flip through the book what I'm talking about. From the get-go, we're in the middle of the military, which is what you'd expect and want from something in the G.I. Joe universe. I love it. It's really kind of high impact. Like I said, the colorist Jordie Bellaire is really, really good. This book already sets a mood and a tone immediately from the get-go, both with the colors and just the drawings and storytelling. I love how Duke here is in these blinds being interrogated. It's a really great feel, very cinematic and filmic, and Tom Reilly is a great artist. So Duke's kind of recalling events that led up to him in the present, and here's the really great thing that's happening in the Energon universe is they are combining Transformers and G.I. Joe. And I noticed that in the Transformers book by Daniel Warren Johnson, which I reviewed in a previous episode, but it really came home when I flipped to this double page spread. Like, how cool is that? That drawing of Starscream. And when I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, I just saw this. So I thought it would be cool to kind of show you guys where that happened. So this is Transformers issue number 2, right here, where there's a fighter pilot flying, and all of a sudden Starscream comes out of nowhere, punches the plane in awesome Daniel Warren Johnson fashion, and the pilots eject up here at the top, and one of them is propelled pretty much in front of Starscream's face, and he crushes him with a huge splat. So check this out. Again, this is really cool. Here's where the pilot launches up, this beautiful silhouette treatment right in front of Starscream right here. And then you see it from Duke's point of view, the splat happening. But one thing I thought which was super awesome, and maybe I'll punch in here when I do the edit, the way that Tom Reilly wrote splat on Duke's windshield is in reverse, like a mirror effect, which is kind of meta a little bit, but it's really similar to the way Daniel Warren Johnson did his splat here, but just in reverse, which I thought was a really cool like connecting factor between the two books. And then you get it from Duke's point of view, like escaping, flying away with his jetpack from Starscream, similar to the events that happened in Transformers 2. So I love that about this book from the get-go. And, they make no bones about it. They're really trying to hit it home that the two universes are connected. These blind silhouettes and shadows really add a great mood, and the colorist did a great job of like carrying that through with her colors. These shapes, these designs are very reminiscent of, like, the whole time I was reading it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Cobra, which is great. I think it's a great thing that the writers are doing to tap into what we loved as kids, but also kind of bring it into a modern day action adventure where the stakes are super high, similar to what I love about the Transformers book. And then you see like the Hiss tanks here, which is great. The Cobra helicopters. It's great. There's not that much dialogue and you just follow the action. And Tom Reilly's really great at staging the action. Super funny moment here. It feels like it's like something that would happen in a film. Like the second I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be tied to Destro. And sure enough, we get a shadowed Destro over here. Here's a great sequence that is all predominantly in red, so you get this very grave feeling of it, and then we get this pop of green right here. Great job by the letterer, by the way. Introduction here, I actually had to look up the name. Hawk mentions her as Krieger. That's CoverGirl, I think is the character. Is it CoverGirl? I think it's CoverGirl. It's not Scarlet. So yeah, I really enjoyed this first issue. They give you a little backstory here, and then here's a preview to another series that's going to come out in the same universe, which is for Cobra Commander. Awesome foreshadowing of the Cobra symbol, which I think it's just like a boot. It's great stuff. I'm really psyched about how they're handling this, and I hope they continue to do a great job. Next book is Marvel Zombies number 4, and like I had mentioned before, I'm not a huge fan of zombies. Just the concept of zombies, they kind of freak me out. And Marvel's done it a lot in their books of doing this kind of zombification of like the X-Men or the Fantastic Four or whatever. And I've never really bought into it. But the reason that this book caught my interest was, one, the cover first was done by this artist named Kyle Hotz or Kyle Hotz. He posts some amazing sketches. He's got this Bernie Wrightson influence to his work, but he's a really, really phenomenal artist. Does a lot of pinups and covers, and they tend to have like a horror kind of stint to him. But I love his work. I'd love to see him do a regular book. And then when I saw who the artists were, it was Steve Skroce, and I believe I pronounced his name Skroce in the intro, but I think it's Skroce, and Danny Earls were 2 of the 3 artists in this anthology. So I was like, hey, I like those artists, so I decided to pick it up. And that's the cool thing with these kind of books. Marvel's done black, white, and red for like Wolverine, or black, white, and blood for like Elektra and Deadpool. They just do it a lot, and I think they're just popular because they're anthology books. You get these short stories from different creative teams, and it's kind of a cool gimmick. I think it was an answer to the Batman black and white anthologies that came out, which had some really, really good stories in those. So a little bit of information about Steve Skroce. He was the main storyboard artist and concept artist on the Matrix movies. And he also worked on a Gambit series for Marvel. I have right here this book, Wolverine Blood Debt. He came out with just recently came out with a series, Clobberin' Time, that he wrote and drew. And I find a lot of his recent work, he's writing as well as drawing too. So that's really cool to see him evolve. Everything that he's worked on, I've really liked. Particularly, he is a great composer of action stuff. Like all of his books have really, really fun action sequences. And in this particular story, he's drawing Blade as the main character, which is an awesome combination. So yeah, you can see how it's black and white art, and then they use red to kind of highlight blood or Captain America's shield or Iron Man's armor. It's this kind of fun story with Blade fighting off the zombies of all the heroes and kind of revealing that he's teamed up with vampires, even though he hates vampires. And he's saving the human race by sacrificing them to the vampires so that they can survive the zombies. It's really messed up. But as I was reading through these, I realized why I didn't like zombies. It's just super bleak, the story of zombies. Like, there's not that much hope. So this is Danny Earls, the start of Danny Earls' story, called Last Man Standing, and he did the art, and it was written by Stephanie Phillips. And the thing I love about Danny Earls, I just discovered him recently. He's an Irish artist, and he actually started off as a professional footballer, or soccer player, as we say here in America. And I think he was a footballer for a long time, and pretty successful at it too. Then he retired and decided he wanted to become a comic book artist. So I listened to an interview, I'll throw the link up, but there was an interview that Declan Shalvey did, who is also Irish, with Danny Earls. And they talked about his career and just his work ethic that he gained from being a professional athlete and how he's applied that to learning how to be an artist. It's really amazing. And as you can see from his work, like, he's really good. And it just blows my mind that, like, he started this kind of as a second career and a hobby and just is now gaining a lot of success. He seems like a super nice guy from this interview. And I've interacted with him a little bit on social media, just kind of complimenting his work, and he's been responsive. And I think he's just so excited that people are giving him a chance. And he's not, you know, he's getting this chance to bat, and he's swinging for the fences. So I love it. I love his art style. It doesn't feel like any other artist out there. It's its own thing. It's got this indie kind of raw quality to it, but then super competent with like perspective and anatomy and storytelling, and it's just really impressive. And apparently Punisher is one of his favorite characters, so he gets to do this story with Punisher in here. I'd love to see him on a regular Punisher book. He also did work with Declan Shalvey. Declan Shalvey wrote an Alien story for him that he illustrated. I believe it was an Aliens annual. And then I think he also did some work on Darth Vader, Black, White, and Red. And then this is the last story here. It's about Shayna. This is kind of a neat story. The artwork, I've never heard of this artist before. Has kind of a realistic quality to it with a fine ink line. Another bleak story about how zombies are just killing everybody and you have to sacrifice your loved ones to them, which is kind of the running theme of this whole book. So that's Marvel Zombies number 4. And finally, very excited to talk about this book today. This is Paklis number 0 by Dustin Weaver. I found out about Paklis through issue 6, which I'll show here as well. But there's basically 7 issues that came out. Issue 6 came out and I saw it on the rack and I was like, what is this? And I had heard of Dustin Weaver before, and I flipped through this and I'm like, oh my goodness, this guy can draw. Like, his work, this reminded me of like a Mobius story, right? And you guys know how much I love Mobius's work. So the colors and just the drawing ability, storytelling, everything, compositions, he could just draw everything. And I was like, wow. And then, so it's this Western story. And then the next story was this like black and white noir, totally different style. And I had to flip back to the beginning and I was like, is this the same artist? And it was. And in the middle of this story comes this like sci-fi world, again, very Mobius kind of inspired, but really high level draftsmanship. So I was like, holy moly, like I need to get this book. Like, look how beautiful these pages are. Super interesting composite. Look at this like fisheye view of this character. And it jumps from this world, this very deep sci-fi Mobius kind of world, cyberpunk kind of feel. And then it goes back into that, like this definitely feels like Mobius, or if you guys know the artist, José Ladrönn, similar kind of, definitely like Euro influenced. And then it goes back to this black and white noir, like pen and ink world, which is beautiful in its own right. And I was like, holy cow, like who is this guy? Can draw anything. And this book was so interesting because there were the stories were so different from one another, but they're all by the same guy. So I started reading more closely, and the neat thing is he kind of documents his process of getting to this point. So I started researching and looking for the other issues, which weren't easy to find. I actually found issues 1 through 5 off of eBay because Dustin Weaver himself posted like, hey, I just saw that Paklis is on eBay. The issues that are out are in eBay, check them out. And I bought them. And so I had this whole set, and then issue 7 came out. And so I kind of had the complete set from that point. And so what Paklis is basically Dustin Weaver self-publishing through Image his own independent stories. And he's pretty open about the journey he takes, the autobiographical journey he takes of coming up with these stories. There's a few main stories. One of them is called Amnia Cycle, which is kind of a sci-fi story. Sagittarius A, another sci-fi story. And then 1949, which was that really cool different style one that I just showed in issue 6. And so Paklis 0 is basically his earlier work before he became a professional. Always on this inset cover, he has this like autobiographical moment where he's in the comic strip talking to his characters and kind of making fun of himself. It's really meta and bizarre, and I love it. The first issue 1 of Paklis came out in 2017. And then the last issue, 7, came out in 2023. So you can see how it's such a long span, 6 years it took him to kind of pull all this stuff together. And I'm sure he's working on professional work in between. It's a really fascinating journey. He talks about it in the back, kind of gives a breakdown of each story and where it came from. And it's awesome to see his style evolve. And I know he's also trying to hit certain stylistic preferences to get work to varying degrees of success, and he's pretty candid about what was successful or not. This is a funny story. It's called Tech Wolves, and he was basically trying to get work at Wildstorm, working on Wildcats, but he changed the name to Tech Wolves so that he wouldn't get sued when it didn't, you know, he didn't get the job at Wildstorm. But you can see the influence, like it totally feels like he was looking at Travis Chare's work. But it's just fun to see him just publish his sample pages and give explanation for it. And it just gives you a snapshot of his evolution as an artist. There will be a Paklis 8. And like I said, I think he's going to be focusing on that character hero. But really good stuff. Check out Dustin Weaver. He's incredibly talented, and I really love that he's doing his own characters. And it sounds like from some of his writing that he really just wanted to do his own characters, but he realized he had to draw superheroes to get work in the industry. But I think he's found a path now, and I'm totally down to support him in whatever direction he goes. this week was a fun one. I walked out of the store today with a thicker stack than normal. There's some books that I grabbed that I didn't even talk about today. Like, for example, Giant Robot Hellboy #3 came out. I'll be doing a short review on YouTube Shorts for that one. And I also picked up several back issues from the dollar bin at this store called Comix Experience. This is a great store in the city. And this month in January, they're doing a customer appreciation month. So for example, today they had free bags and boards for every book that you bought, which was great. So each day is different. There's gonna be days like, you can see a calendar. Tomorrow they're doing buy two, get one free nonfiction graphic novels. They're gonna do another day where 20% off all Marvel back issues. And then one day that really caught my eye was all dollar comics are just 25 cents. So I think I'm gonna be scouring their boxes on that day. But it's just a really cool way to engage with their customers, get them into the stores, get them excited, just excited about the new year and what comics will bring. So it's working on me, and I just wanted to pass that on to you guys. I had a goal of getting 50 subscribers by the end of the year, and we're actually above that, got above that before the end of 2023. So thank you guys so much for supporting this channel, tuning in. Definitely like, subscribe, and comment. It all helps with the weird YouTube algorithm. One of the most exciting parts about trying all this stuff is meeting all of you, getting to know you, and just sharing in the love of comics. That's the whole reason I started this. And it's definitely been the best part. I have a few things like mapped out and just gonna try, see how it goes. I did a secret draw stream the other day where I was drawing on stream, trying to do more live stream stuff, YouTube Shorts. So it's all a bunch of fun things that I've got planned. So make sure you subscribe so you get notified, tell people about it, and hopefully you'll see more content from me before next Wednesday. But if you don't, have a great week, and I'll see you next time.